to week 8 of Sunday Night Football. Tonight we've got the Buffalo Bills against the Green Bay Packers. For Green Bay, we're doing some cheese that I smoked already on Monday, so it's about a week ahead of time. And for Buffalo, I mean the only option is you gotta do wings. I'm gonna show you how I like to do wings. It's not quite the traditional Buffalo way, but I always like how it comes out. So stay tuned for all that and hope you enjoy. Alright, so for Green Bay, we're going to be doing a cheese platter. It's a little tricky because it's cold smoking instead of hot smoking or grilling. But there are ways to make this work, so I'll show you how I do that. First thing, you got to assemble your cheese. So I've got a pretty good variety here. It takes the same amount of work as to do one block of cheese as it does to load the thing up. So I like to get some variety. So we got Colby Jack, mozzarella, an extra sharp and a mild cheddar. I like to taste the variance there to see how differences come into play. Pepper Jack, Monterey Jack, and a Munster. I've got a couple blocks of each of these here. They're different sizes just because that's what was available. I just bought the best deal on everything I could find. So you want to let these have just a couple minutes to come up to room temperature. Not all the way. You don't want them to start getting waxy, but you want to give them just a minute or two at least so that you can kind of dab them with a paper towel, get any loose oils off so that they go on nice and dry, and that smoke will actually stick to the surface everywhere. So I've got these ready and coming out just a little bit to room temperature, and as I've got that happening, I've got the fire getting going as well. Alright, so to do the fire for cold smoking, in this case for cold smoking cheese, it takes a little bit more creativity. If you've got a pellet burner or anything electric like that where you can control the temperatures manually, that makes things a lot easier. If you're doing a live fire like I am here, you got to be a little bit more creative. So first thing, you want to do it when it's cold if possible. I'm doing this at night, as you can see, and I picked the coldest evening this week, so this is Monday night, not Sunday when we normally do the cooking. This is the lowest temperature we're supposed to get this week, at least when I checked a couple days ago, so that's what I'm doing tonight. To get the fire, you want a small fire. In this case, I've just got a ring of 5 little charcoals here, and then we're going to try to get as much smoke out of that as possible. So I'm going to smother it with some very small wood shavings, not even the usual wood chips or wood chunks, just some wood shavings that won't burn very hot, but they'll give off a lot of smoke very quickly. So it'll be a chance to get that smoke covered really nicely. If it's still not going to be cold enough for you, you can add a little bit of extra dimension here. You can put like some ice blocks or a water bath or something between the fire and whatever it is that you're smoking. That'll help just give it a little extra protection against the heat so you can still get that smoke that you want without it burning up. Alright, so I've got the cheese on the smoker here. I put it up pretty high on the smoker so that it's away from the fire. That way if I do get any extra heat, any little flare-ups or anything in the smoke box, it's not going to melt the cheese. You do not want the cheese to get melty while you are smoking it. You're going to lose all the flavor and it's going to make it a huge mess as well. I've got the hardest cheeses, the ones that are going to melt the slowest are the ones that are safest to be near the fire. I've got those sitting on the bottom. That would be some of the jack cheeses and the cheddar. I've got the softer cheeses that would be more likely to melt, like the mozzarella here on the top, where they've got a couple extra barriers of protection and a little bit of extra distance. I'm going to keep this rolling, replacing the charcoals when I need to, so that I've always just got a couple burning at a time, adding the wood chips whenever the other ones burn out, and I'm going to keep this going until I get a visible smoky texture all the way around the outside here. That can take anywhere from 2 to 4 hours in my experience, just kind of depends on how things happen to be running that particular time. It's been smoking for about 3 hours. I use just a little bit of hickory and pecan wood. Hickory will give it some pretty strong smoky flavor. Pecan's a little bit sweeter, so I've never used that combination exactly before with cheese, but I'm curious to see how it goes. Hoping for kind of a balanced flavor. All the cheese here has gotten just a little bit darker in color. It didn't get a heavy smoke. I'm not trying to overpower it. And you can see on the tops of some of it here, it's just a little bit waxy and softer now. So you don't want to eat it right away after it comes off the smoker. I'm going to wrap it in Ziploc bags, give it a chance to rest for a couple of days, cool back down, let all of that smoky flavor just kind of settle in there, so it's not just around the surfaces, but it gets all the way through. And then it will be ready to slice up and serve and eat fresh on sandwiches, however you want to do it. The only big thing is you do not want to melt the cheese once it's been smoked. You'll lose all that extra flavor you gave it. So serve it however you want, just make sure it's being served cold. Alright, so for buffalo, the only food that's really an option has to be wings. You can marinate these in whatever you want. There's lots of different options. If you've been to any restaurant that has wings, you know there's all sorts of different sauce options you can get on it. I'm not doing the traditional buffalo style with the really vinegary sauce. What I'm going to do instead is one of my favorite sauces to go with it, which is just a simple sweet chili, kind of an Asian style sauce. I've got about a pound and a half of wings in here. I'm going to dump a few ounces of the sauce, give them a couple hours to marinate, and then I'm going to throw them on the smoker directly next to the fire so that they get crisped up a little bit. They're not going to slow cook like things normally would in the smoker. They're going to cook a little bit faster from that proximity. So to get the sauce put on here, I'm just going to dump in a few ounces and then just work it around with my hands to make sure it gets on all of the individual wings. Once I've got that pretty well covered, I'm going to just seal it up and put it in the fridge and then let it rest in there marinating for about an hour or two. As it's doing that, about every 30 minutes, I'm just going to flip the bag over, move things around so that all of the spots are going to get some sauce on them so that everything gets that good sweet chili flavor that I'm going for. So for these wings, I want to get them smoky, but I want to cook them quickly too, so I want to get lots of heat. So I'm going to put them right here on this bottom grate, right next to the fire. That way they're going to be running at a higher temperature, get done a little bit quicker and get a little crispier. So I'm just taking them right out of the marinade bag. And I'm just going to throw them on here. Give them a little bit of space in between so they can get more surface area on that smoke. Once they start to crisp up a little bit, I'm just going to flip them over so they get done evenly all around. It's not going to take very long, even running in the smoker instead of the grill. With that direct heat, they should get done pretty quickly. Alright, so we've got the wings ready to go here. The ones that were closest to the fire cooked for about 10 to 15 minutes on each side until they got nice and crispy on the outside. Got a good glaze. The ones that were offside, away from the fire, took about 20 to 25 minutes per side total. Once the first ones were off and done, I moved those closer so they'd finish up. You can see some of the parts got a little crispy. That's all right. Some people like them better that way, so everybody gets their choices. And you can see here we got a mix of some flats and some drums, so whichever part of the wing is your favorite, it works out for everybody. So whichever type of sauce you like on your wings, and whether you like them more spicy, more mild, whatever, this is a good way to do it. If you do them on the smoker but right next to the fire, it gives you a chance to get a little bit of extra smoky flavor in there, which you don't always get from just frying them or grilling them, or baking for that matter. But it still allows you to get a nice crispy exterior, since they are just off of the fire like that. So it's a really good way to kind of balance all of the different options, get a nice, crispy, tasty wing that everybody will want to dig into. And for our Green Bay, we of course have our cheese platter. So these are all different ones that I smoked at the same time. So we've got the extra sharp cheddar, the mild cheddar, Munster, mozzarella, Monterey Jack, pepper jack, and Colby Jack. So once they were done smoking, I just got them all into Ziploc bags. Pull as much air out of there as you can. If you use a vacuum sealer, even better. And then let them refrigerate for a few days. That gives the smoke a chance to kind of evenly distribute throughout the entire block of cheese. So you want to do that even before you slice it, if possible. Otherwise, those end pieces are going to be very smoky, and the ones in the middle you're not going to taste as much. If you let it sit as a block for at least a couple of days before you start cutting into it, it's going to have a more even, more balanced flavor. You get that smokiness all the way throughout. And then once you're ready to get into it, just cut them in whatever size slices you want, and serve however you want. If you want to get some crackers, some deli meats, whatever it is you want to go with it, it's going to be pretty much good with anything. It's going to be the highlight of any charcuterie board you can put together. Thank you for watching our Week 8 Sunday Night Football with the Buffalo Bills against the Green Bay Packers. Once again, for Buffalo, we did the wings. For Green Bay, we did the smoked cheese. Both of them turned out great. So, if you enjoyed this, feel free to like, share, follow, anything you can do to help get the word out. And thanks, as always, to my lovely wife for doing all the recording, all the editing, everything like that. Hope to see you next week.